Hi everybody. Good evening. Steffi here from the Makers. I'm hoping that everybody is joining us slowly but surely. So I'll give you a little bit of time for you to trundle into the live stream, and I am recording this, so I will pop this onto YouTube when I'm done. And in my usual style, I'll say hello to everybody who's joining us. So let's just have a quick look who is there. Nobody said anything yet, but you can feel free to ask questions throughout this free live stream, where I will be explaining to you and showing you all kinds of ways of how you can embellish and upcycle and mend your favorite garments, or maybe a really stuffed up jumper that you haven't worn for ages, but it's in the back of the wardrobe somewhere. So just today will all be about getting us ready to really go to town on some more technical bits, leading all the way to the last part. But I'm going to give you a good heads up today what you might need to have at the ready to even start. So we've got a couple of people, well, there's quite a lot of people actually here. There is Ines is there, hello, and people are watching but haven't said anything. Lorna is there, Emily is there, and I'm just gonna give it another little bit of time for people to join, so the numbers are going up. What kind of things would you want? Well, scarves, jumpers, denim, linen, wool, cashmere, acrylic, it all goes, absolutely everything. So and there is an answer for all of your garments. As long as you can fit the needle in, you can embellish it and you can add details to it by using a felting needle and wool. It's as simple as that. So Lindsay says hi everyone, Tanya says good evening everyone, and Mandy says hi. So yeah, numbers are definitely going up, so let's give it another minute or so until so that nobody is missing out. So as I said, today is mainly about getting your garments ready. You might do a trip to the charity shop, who knows, because I might just give you ideas where you think, oh, I really want to do this. So what I'm going to show you is maybe what we're going to end up with at the very end. And what we're doing today specifically is needle felting into very basic materials, like a scarf, for example. There's another one here. Or maybe you want to, so I just got to get my table across a little bit. Maybe you've got it's the time to get your cashmere jumpers out of your wardrobe, because there might just be that annoying moth hole in there. So any kind of woolly jumpers, cashmere, wool, acrylic, it all counts. There's another one here. Or maybe you have got some amazing shorts, denim shorts, that you haven't worn forever and a day, and you really want to get them. In fact, this is a skirt that you want to make them a little bit more interesting. Maybe you're going to a party and it needs to be themed. Maybe you have a particular theme that you need to, rather than spending lots of money, you've got it all at home. Get your felting needles out and start designing your own designer clothes, basically. Of course, you can also do this on bags, cushions, I don't know, curtains. You can needle felt onto any fabric you've got in the house. Maybe you've got a hat that needs zhuzhing up. So we've got garments here as well. And what else have I got? You can also, if you've got some napkins with a pattern on it, you can also follow the pattern and needle felt that down as well. So there are lots of options, and I'm just going to have another little check-in who is there. Anne said, Anne is saying nothing. Anne, speak to us. Anne usually says something, but she hasn't. Bridget says hi everyone. Fiona says hi Steffi and everyone. Sandy says hello everyone, very excited. Fiona says good evening everyone. Fiona says evening all. So we've got quite a few people here now, and so the main thing that I will tell you is what you actually need in principle to make anything work on garments. And I'm just going to show you the overhead camera shot. This is what you see me doing with my hands here. And I have got at the ready, you need potentially a 7 needle felting tool. That would be preferable. I haven't even unpacked this one, but we do have the 5 needle felting tool, which is the clover one. These are really amazing because they're very versatile. They also work on 3D shaping. The 7 needle felting tool I would only use for 2D felting. A brush mat potentially. You don't need this brush mat if you have our eco wool mats, because they take the needles really well of that 7 needle felting tool. If you don't have this brush mat, and God forbid you're still using foam mats, then yes, you can't use the foam mat on this needle. You do need a brush mat, or just invest into an eco wool mat, which is also much cheaper. Single needles, that would be great. Any kind of wool, whatever you have got in your stash, you will be surprised how little wool you're using. So little wisps, wool that you can mix, whether that's tops or bats, anything really goes. I've got a whole selection here, just sort of pulled them out of a jar. And then going forward, I think what will be really nice is maybe you've got some little offcut mats as well. They're really good because sometimes you need to get inside a sleeve. So a little smaller mats work quite well to get into the little spaces. Going forward for the next few weeks, it's good to invest in some water soluble paper. Make sure that it's this kind. We do sell this one. It's it feels like it's a fabric basically, and it feels like a dried up wet wipe. That's basically what it feels like. So if you've got the plastic version, it's like a film. Don't bother using it. It doesn't work for needle felting. And if you've got the paper one that feels a bit like baking paper, also it doesn't work. So it needs to be this kind of fabric water soluble paper. And I would also just have a look through your drawer if you find any cookie cutters. We're not doing that today yet. We're doing this next time. But any kind of cookie cutters might be quite handy. I've got a butterfly here, gingerbread man, an angel. Even round shapes might be quite fun to just do lots of circles, flowers, hearts, stars, a moon, whatever kind of cookie cutters you've got, or whatever kind of templates. And if you have the chance, I will actually share this with you, and everyone a maker. I'll let you have some free templates of things that I have already drawn, and like flowers and so on, and they would be great to use later on when we progress in this 4-week course, to use with water soluble paper. So I will let you have some templates. It doesn't have to be flowers. It could be little beach houses, little beach huts. So as long as you've got something that you can overlay the water soluble paper onto it, and then draw, transfer the outlines onto the water soluble paper, that's all you need. Now I have so many ideas, so many tricks up my sleeve that I can share with you, how you can get a template off the screen if you don't want to free draw it. Yeah, I'm quite adventurous in that way, so I will share everything that I know so that we can have a bit of fun together. And then of course you need to share your garment with us, one that you have perfected or that you have made a special theme out of, because there is a prize to be won at the end of this 4-week course. We want to see your garments and your upcycling and your creativity that's spilled out onto the fabric, so that we can hand out a prize. I've actually forgotten what it is, but we're usually quite generous, so or maybe you don't get anything, maybe you just get to be the winner. So right, let's have another little check-in. So we have I'm sure I can find a t-shirt or two with holes in. Yes, everybody has got them. Valeria says, hi Steffi. Anne says, watching while sitting in the garden with a gin and tonic. Well, it is Friday, certainly Friday, and you know, I have got a drink today as well. This looks really nice and cool, and I am actually drinking a cider. Whether I'm still awake by the end of this live stream, I have no idea, because alcohol has a very soporific effect on me, but I try my very best. But I don't drink alcohol at all. This is like a real treat, and I probably won't even drink a quarter of it, but it looks nice, smells nice, and tastes nice too. Right, so let's start. Oh, tea towels. Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that. I know there will be lots of questions. Now, I have been given demos on upcycling and needle felting onto garment for a few years now at some of the bigger knit and stitch shows. They're called knit and stitch shows now. They used to be called knitting and stitching shows. And people are always fascinated, and the world opens up to a whole new possibilities. So be ready for it. Right, let's get started. So I've got my felting mat at the ready, going to the overhead camera. There we go. And I've got this scarf which I have washed and washed and washed and washed, and all the robins on there have faded. Look, aren't they looking sad? So sad. If you have a pre-printed fabric, it's great. Whether that is a scarf, they don't have to look sad. It can be completely brand new, and you just want to throw in a little bit of color, which is what I've done here. So I've just needle felted some of them. I've needle felted them back into the scarf so that they are visible again. All the red has literally disappeared. Now, the first question a lot of people ask is, can I wash this afterwards? Yes, what do you think? Of course you can wash it, because wool gets even more felted when you wash it, and this has been washed. So to establish it even more, if you wash it, it's absolutely perfect. Sorry, I've just moved away from the mic a little bit because I actually haven't got any wool for the robin, as I want to demonstrate how to do the robin on here. Now, very important is that you obviously, it's not so obvious with the scarf, but when you do a jumper, you have to make sure that you are only having the layer on top of the mat that you're actually felting. Don't have your jumper on top and you felt through the two layers. I know it's an obvious thing to say, but I think it is worth mentioning, because you would absolutely hate it if you've felted the two layers of the jumper together. That's not what we're doing. So I've got at the ready a coarse felting needle here. There it is. That is actually quite coarse, and I'm not going to use that because that's just going to stuff the scarf. That's better. So maybe try stabbing into the garment sort of away a little bit to see how it takes the needle. And I'm going to start by giving the robin its sort of darker, you can start anywhere really, small amounts. This is quite a long wool, so I'm actually tearing the fibers shorter. Now, the trick with needle felting, and the thing that I always say, is less is more. Don't put too much on it because you are going to regret it. And then all you're going to do is lay the wool out, stab into the wool and through the fabric, and bit by bit felt the wool down where you can see the color below. Now, when you do this, for those who've never ever done anything like it, look what happens. So you push the fibers through the garment and they sink into the mat. So you do need to lift your work off regularly, otherwise you have a mat attached to your lovely scarf or whatever you're using. So follow the shape, and of course you don't have to follow the shape. You could easily steer off a little bit if you wanted to. And going around, I've used a different color wool to the one that I did before. They're the ones before. Now I'm going quite dark here. And make sure, if you want to get a neat edge, that you stab into the edge nicely, so don't let the wool spill out. If you have any stray fibers, you can sort of twizzle them around the tip of the needle, and I always call it the spaghetti technique. Don't know if I can come a little bit closer so you can see it, but I'm literally just twizzling the wool around my needle and then I push it in. It's almost like you're sort of trapping it around the needle and then pushing it into your work, and that way it gets fastened on and there are no wispy bits left sticking in all directions. This is what it looks from the back. As you wear it, it will flatten down a little bit, and then you can add more of the wool. Just gonna add a little bit more to that top of the head there. Yeah. So nice round robin. And very satisfying. If you've never needle felted before, if this is the first time you're watching anything being needle felted, notice that my needle is going in and out in a straight line. So the needle is actually really sharp and very fragile. This little end here, if you twist that, if you bend it, it will bend, if not snap straight away. So you need to be quite careful with your needle. And then I'm going to add little wings in there. The wings on my robin here are different color, but I'm just going to stick with the same color. Like I say, you can have a little bit of creative license if you like. If you have added too much wool, you can also just cut it off or felt it down by bending it over and put it into place. And remember to lift your work off. This is getting quite seriously felted on there. I'm actually going to do the white next, filling the space in here. It's very satisfying doing this, especially when you're doing these little robins or whatever you have got. You can, if you have a printed tea towel, like somebody mentioned, follow the prints on the tea towel. You can fill it in. I'm not so sure that it will be particularly practical drying your dishes, but it will look very pretty. So it could just be a decorative tea towel, or maybe napkins, or maybe a tablecloth. Maybe that would be better because it's a bit more of a decorative thing rather than something that you use actively to absorb fluids or liquids. And here we go. And the finer the wool, the finer your work will be. So if you use a really fine, let's talk a little bit about wool. Every time I'm at a show or people come up and they ask me about wool, they always say, oh, which one is the merino? And I know already what they're on about. They want to know which one is the fine merino wool tops. Now, merino comes in many disguises, and it comes in wool bats. So for example, this one that I've got here is a Cape merino. It's super soft but also really short fibered, whereas something like this is an Australian merino, and look how long the fibers are. Just because the breed is a merino doesn't mean to say it produces exactly the same wool. It is literally an evolution of where the sheep has been for how long, whether they have been exposed to a lot of sun, what they've eaten, whether they're in lower grounds or higher grounds. All of that causes the wool to be slightly different, even though it is from a merino sheep. Right, a bit more red. Back into the chest here. The great thing is when you needle felt onto an existing fabric, you don't actually need to make sure that the layers overlap, because you've got that fabric underneath that makes sure that everything stays where it's meant to stay. So later on in these 4 weeks, when we talk about water soluble paper, if you were to dissolve the water soluble paper, you have to make sure that the wool actually touches. As it happens with the 2D needle felting onto garments, the water soluble paper is a little bit like the replacement of this fabric that you're following the pattern of, so you don't actually need to do that, need to dissolve the paper. Right, so we have a little robin. We need a bit of black now for the beak. Now the beak on my robin here is open, but I'm just going to keep it closed. So it's a slight variation to what the other robins are like. I think that's okay. So do whatever suits you. It's going to be quite hard to needle felt an open beak with wool, so on that scale, so I'm just going to choose to have it closed. Little black eye as well. Sometimes you can pre-shape the wool between your fingers, so I want to make a little round disc for an eye, so I'm tucking the wispy fibers underneath so I get already a neater shape. And remember, wool will shrink down when you felt it down, so don't be alarmed that the eye is much bigger than it eventually will look when it's felted down. In the early stages, when you're stabbing the wool down and you're not happy with the position, you can lift it off. That's the great thing about needle felting. Everything's adjustable. If it was so stuck on that you couldn't lift it off, to be honest, you could felt over it with another color and then start over. And you do need to lift this off. It's really important. Now we want a little reflection point in that eye so that we can see it's a little eye. And I just added a little bit of white in there. It always looks weird to start with, but when you look away and then look again, it becomes a natural thing. So here we go. There's the little robin. I haven't added the legs yet, but I'll do that in a minute. And you can see that it just lifts the whole scarf suddenly comes alive again when it was looking very tired and slightly, I don't know, washed out, I suppose. So just little legs. Again, don't get too hung up on what the pattern is. If it's not working for needle felting, then just make up your own. It's barely visible, that little leg. I need a little bit more wool. Take some of the black. You can see that the fiber actually doesn't like this very much because it becomes very, it's quite a thin fiber and it pulls. So I don't know what I've done with the other. I think I've left the legs off for that exact reason. So they're just sort of there. They're still visible, but it's hard to felt them down because the fabric gets really pulled. So that might be something you need to consider, or make them a lot fatter. But I think I'll live with the robin, just looking that the legs are still drawn on there. So similarly, if you have a scarf and you don't have a pattern, I'm just going to check in what comments we have got as well. So just go back to the front screen. Right, so let's have a look. Fiona says, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Fiona. Two Fionas. Barbara says, hi, Steffi and everyone. Joe says, hello, everyone. Anne, oh no, Anne is having the gin and tonic. Sorry, I'm missing a few messages or doubly reading them. I have various items of clothing with pesky little holes in. Only watching along tonight for ideas. Excellent. Sharon says, hats and gloves. Yeah, great. So pesky little holes. Let's talk about moths, shall we? We all are animal lovers, and we don't want to we don't want to harm animals, but we draw a line when it comes to wool moths, right? Right. Is there anybody else with me on this? So wool moths are only a problem if the female and the male are together, because it's not the moths themselves that cause the problem. It's the larvae that lives in your clothes, and when they hatch, they start eating. So they lay the eggs in the wool, and then when the larvae develops and the little baby moths pop out, they start eating your garments for food. So what we need to do is we need to keep the two moths apart, the male and the female. Now, how do you identify them? So in general, a moth that is flying is a male moth, and a moth that hops is the female moth. Sadly, there are contraptions that you can buy to catch the male moth, but at least the female moth won't be killed, because they're fine without the male. They cause no harm. So you can buy moth traps. You can also deter moths from going into your wool because they don't like strong smells, such as all these essential oils like lavender and pine and orange and lemon and all of that. So you can put some really strong smelling, I don't know, maybe soaked cloths with essential oil into your garments, and then that's basically will prevent, or hopefully will prevent, the moths from getting in. If you do have moths in your garment, and you know that they've laid their eggs, and what do you do now? If you try and wash it, sometimes that doesn't help. There's only one really good way of getting rid of moss, and that is putting your garments into the freezer. Put your wool in the freezer for a couple of weeks, into a really deep freezer, and that is what puts the end to it, to the larvae, the eggs, and also the actual flying moths. So that is my tip for you to get rid of moths, or prevent them from coming. Moths love dark spaces. So if you have got wool and it kind of gets hidden away somewhere and is not looked at for a long time, then that is where they will go. Guarantee you. So move your wool around, move your makes around, just give them some airing, give them some sunshine, give them some light, and get them out of the dark corners. Or of course you can also completely seal wool up in seal proofed bags, and especially if you're putting your woolly jumpers away for the winter, put them into plastic bags that are completely airtight, so that you can't get so the moths don't get in. Or keep them in your freezer. How about this? Keep your woolly jumpers in the freezer. They're 100% safe there. The problem is when you have got a carpet infested situation. So if you have the moths in your woolly carpets, yes, it is a problem, I will be honest. So you will have to probably get somebody in to completely fumigate the place, pull the carpet out. It is a big problem. So if you've got any questions about the moth situation or anything like this, just give me a shout here on the comments. See what people are saying. Jane is watching. Hi Jane. Hi Steffi and Fluff friends. Izzy says, sorry if you have already covered this. What kind of fabrics are good to needle felt on? So the rule is, sorry, I'm just going to get to the drawer to get a pen out. The rule is that you can felt onto anything that takes your needle. If the needle fits in, then you can felt onto it. If your needle breaks, maybe it's not such a good idea. So just make sure that you try it first. But in general, you can felt onto denim, linen, cotton canvas, woolly jumpers, acrylic jumpers. What else have I got? Anything really. You can felt onto anything. Whatever takes the needle is allowing you to add the wool onto. So I don't know, sofa cushions, canvas bags, jumpers. We've had suggestions of tea towels, maybe tablecloths, maybe gloves, hats, anything really. It is the most amazing thing when you start thinking about it. It opens up such a variety of possibilities. Nothing will be left unstabbed by the time you've discovered what you can actually do. Just a very short story. So when my girls were little, one of them, I found this lovely, and she always loved really pretty things. This is Tomke, and there was this beautiful pink woolen, like a what are they called again? Like a Paddington coat. I can't remember now what they're called. Anyway, but it was pink. So like a woolen coat with toggles. I can remember the German name, but can't think of the English name. It's very annoying. It will come to me. And but there were moth holes all on the shoulder going down on one side, and it was so annoying because it was so pretty. So all I did is I just needle felted lots of little flowers onto like a little waterfall of flowers coming down just one shoulder, and it looked so charming. And you never would have guessed that I did this to actually mend the jumper. The coat. It looked like it was a designer coat, and she was so happy having it. So the world's your oyster. Now I wish for moth holes so I can needle felt onto it. So we've covered just now needle felting onto a scarf following a pattern. Now this doesn't have to be just a scarf. You can obviously use any fabric that has got a pre-printed something printed on there and you want to emphasize it. It doesn't have to be animals. It could be something abstract, lines, maybe flowers, anything. Whatever you've got, just practice it. This is a really good part. If you want to get going with the needle felting onto garments, just practice it. We've also covered that it's best to use the Eco Wool Mat because it also takes the 7 needle felting tool. And I haven't actually done this on here. Shall we just do that quickly to see how the fabric takes the 7 needle felting tool? Because if you've got a very fine fabric like I have here, the 7 needle felting tool might actually be too harsh, but actually it works really well. Yeah, it does. Felts it down a little bit more, so yeah, it does work. Perfect. And we asked the question, can it be washed? Yes, please do wash it, because the more aggravation, the more friction, the more it gets established in the fabric. As we all know, wool felts, when it gets moved around and has hot and friction going on as well. Right, I'm just going to have a quick check-in if there are any questions that are being asked. So fire away if there's anything that you do need to know. And let's see if I can get to all the... A duffel coat, thank you so much. How did I not get this? Well, at least you're all listening, so you're not falling asleep talking to me. Can you felt a name onto material? Yes, you can. Now, if you feel happy to freestyle the letters, you can start straight away. I mean, to be honest, you could even draw on a piece of fabric, because you cover it all up, so that's not a problem. Yes, and you can felt a name onto it, absolutely. I can see you all now felting the little names in the back of a jumper for beginning of school, right? No, you wouldn't do that. Anne says, having difficulty typing this evening. Is that the gin and tonic? As I had an argument with a potato peeler whilst peeling an apple for fake chutney. Fake chutney proves it was shark. I think you mean sharp. You haven't got sharks. It took a chunk out of my nail. Very ouchy. Oh no. Oh dear. Okay. Love your sweetie containers. Sweetie containers. Where have I got sweetie containers, Diane? Have I? Okay. I'm with you on moths. My housemate has what used to be a nice wool carpet. Now we have a huge moth problem in the house. I know it's the wool carpets. When we moved into the new premises, because there are carpets here, the first thing I asked, please tell me it's not a wool carpet, because I could have not coped with it. It's so hard to keep on top of it. And once you've got the problem, there is literally just one solution, and that's usually tear the whole thing out, because they literally destroy the carpet under the furniture where you don't even see it, and you move a chair and suddenly you just see threadbare carpet, and they stay in there. It's really hard to get rid of them. So that is really bad news for people who've got woolly carpets if you get those. Carol says, "Ooh, catching you late, but this sounds great." Yeah, we have lots of suggestions of duffel coat. Do you want to hear what it's called in German? It's called Lodenmantel. There you go. Doesn't sound half as fun as duffel coat. Duffel coat sounds fun. I got a pair of socks for my birthday, says Anne. On the sole, one said, "Do not disturb," and on the other it says, "Anne is needle felting." Oh, typo on the giver's part, I think. I'll try to felt over the extra. It says, "Do not disturb," and on the other it says, it says, is needle felting. Two is. Oh yeah, you can just easily cover that up. And then felt over the extra is, "Oh, Anne, you're really challenging me tonight." And see if it's okay under my foot. If it isn't, it'll just is it? How many gins have you had, Anne? This sounds really hard to follow. Okay, have we got any more questions? No. So lots of you are watching. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. And let's freestyle some stuff. So I bought this scarf in the charity shop. It's purple, and if you need something that is a little bit more fun than this. This is just a plain scarf. Maybe like plain scarves and don't obviously felt over it. But if you've got lots of wool bits and you just want to make a bit of a theme of it, why not add little round spots to it? So it's actually exactly the same as with the robin, except that you don't have this time you don't have a shape under any kind of shape underneath it. So you have to choose your colors however you want to choose them. Let's just use a little bit of a wool top just to prove that that also works. Now I tend to shorten them because it's so much easier to felt them down when they're shorter. So I'm teasing them to make them shorter. I'm not teasing them, I'm actually tearing them. There. So remember, small amounts, you can always add more. Let's pop it here, stab into it, don't even need to pre-shape it. Just get it down and then fold the outside in. Remember, you can draw onto fabric even with a pen that doesn't disappear by itself. So if you wanted to, you could, what is underneath there? Don't know, there's a funny bit, stops my needle from going in. That's better. And go all the way around the edges. If you want it to be double-sided, then you repeat it on the other side. So with the scarf in particular, you might not like the fluffy part on one side and the flatter part on the other side. So just get one side done. Once you've got the shape established, then you can also use your felting tool. Just get it felted down. Now when you look at the other side, you can see it's really fluffy. Can you see that? So then you turn it over. It's a little bit of a back and forth for a little while. Felt the other side down as well. So get a nice neat shape as you did on the other side. And then you turn it over again. So it's a bit of a back and forth to get the shape nice and felted down on both sides. As you get closer to the finish, you don't want to stab the needle in too far anymore, because all you're doing is just stuffing the fluff right out the other side. So just go a little bit less deep into the shape, and that way you're actually felting a flat shape rather than just stuffing the wool through so that it looks fuzzy on the other side. I'm adding a little bit more wool here to get a nicer edge. Allow the needle just to pull the wool. You don't need to do too much with your fingers. Just as long as you know where you stab the needle is where the wool gets pulled down and fastened on, and that way you can make it double-sided. Now when you have done this a few times and you've still got fuzzy bits, and unless you like the fuzzy bits, if you don't, just cut them off, just shave them off a bit, and it won't harm your fabric, because by that time the wool has felted so much that all you need to do is just neaten it up a little bit. And oh, that was a funny sound. What was that? I wonder. And so yes, you can make these little dots, and they feel quite satisfying because they're sort of quite 3D. They feel like little buttons on there. And add a few more if you want. Let's see what other wool I've got that would work with this. Maybe sort of a paler pink. This is a wool bat again. Just lay it down. So remember, go easy with the size of the needle if you've got, especially if you've got a delicate fabric. I'm just using a fine needle here, and I'm not even shaping the wool down. I'm literally just felting it down, and I'm just going round and round in circles, and the wool follows the line of the needle. And if it doesn't, then you can sort of just fold it over and tuck it inward and felt it down. And it's a very satisfying repetitive process. So if you have a little bit of time on your hand and you don't want something that challenges you too much, because you've got to engage your brain and think about it and constantly get I don't know, constantly think what you're going to do next and worry about it, what it's going to look like. This kind of needle felting is just a little bit of therapy in the evening or wherever you are. If you're waiting somewhere, if you're a bit anxious, just get your felting needle out and just add a few more spots. And how fun would it be if you covered the whole of the scarf? Wow, can you imagine that? That would be a piece of art, 100%. All these spots on the whole of the scarf. That would be, it genuinely would be an amazing piece of design. Even though it's nothing complicated, it's just the sheer determination to get so many spots on, especially if you're keeping to a certain color and getting them all felted down. And I'm just going to trim that off again. Make sure you don't cut a hole in the scarf, so go easy. But you can neaten it up with your scissors. My favorite scissors, the rainbow scissors. Right, here we go. So, freestyle still. This time a little bit more freestyle than with the robins because you've had the pattern underneath. This time you have to just make spots, but they can be slightly different. They don't have to be exactly the same. So that is another way of freestyling where you literally just use the fabric and the wool and start felting into it. I'm sort of stringing this out a little bit because I want to be able to talk about it all the way until we're in part 4. And I'm just going to have a look if there are any questions. Diane says, such great ideas to get more life out of clothes. And it is the simple things. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. If you have, I don't know, maybe you have a piece of denim that has got something already printed on, or a jumper and it's got really tired. You don't, even if it's a flowery pattern, you don't have to cover all of it. Just pick a few bits and just bring that color back out and just make it pop. So, yeah, that's it. Let's just see, I'm trying to read backwards again. So just on the subject of socks, you can mend socks with needle felting. If you've got a hole in the foot, you can mend it. Now you can also mend holes in your jumper if they're a little bit bigger. What I will say is, if your jumper has worn through under the arm, I genuinely wouldn't needle felt them closed under the arm. It just looks really weird. It looks like your jumper has developed hairy armpits, and so yeah, I wouldn't do that because it's really hard to get the exact match. So I think I would go to a sewing needle and thread on that one. But talking about jumpers and freestyling it, so let's have a look at this piece of clothing here. Another really simple design, and this is where you don't need to worry about making up a fancy template, and this is a really super simple design, and everybody recognizes it straight away what it is, and it's bees. How about bees? So there were actually moth holes in this sleeve, just here, and of course moth holes are never in the right place. That's a definite given. There's some here as well. So I just needle felted some bees on there. So this is where I mentioned to you, having a smaller felting mat that fits inside your garment is actually really handy. Like for example this one here. So you pop that inside. So if you ever have lots of felting mats, don't get rid of them because you might just need them because you need to place them inside a larger piece. A bee is the super easy. It's basically a brown sausage or black sausage, and then with yellow stripes, and then some wispy white wings. So on this one, I'm just gonna pop that down here, get my felting needle out, felt the shape down like a slight oval shape, get the crispy edge by going into the side. So this is a cashmere jumper, and felting, you can manipulate the shape a little bit by going right into the edge if you want to make it more narrow, like that. And then remember to lift it off. Don't get complacent about this because it does get fastened on a lot underneath. So lift it off. I'm just gonna grab a little bit of yellow out of my... Oh, is that the sweetie jars you were talking about, Diane? I think that might be it. Did you see my sweetie jar? So I'm using a wool top, but you can use a wool bat, but I am actually already pre-shaping it into a little stripe. Felt it down. No detail required, because we can trick our brains into seeing a bee, because our brains don't really know what else to make of a brownish little oval with yellow stripes. That's it. All it can think of is, oh, must be a bee. So putting a couple of stripes on there, just stuff them right into the edge so they don't spill out. That also makes them ever so slightly 3D, which I think is really nice on anything felted onto your garment, to make it look a little bit like it's off the surface. There we go. There's the bee. And all we need to do is add the tiniest amount of white. I mean, you will have so much wool to use for this, because you really don't need an awful lot. And then just add 2 wisps, and they don't need to be even very shapely. One here for wing, and maybe one here for the other wing. There we go. And you've got your little bee felted down, taking absolutely no time whatsoever. So we're getting quite a cluster here. Now, I got a bit carried away with the bees, I will be honest. And again, I did have a hole in that part of the jumper. So I made the bees, and then I just did a little beeline. Very, very gentle, with a little bit of, I just add another one so you can see how easy it is. Just add a tiny little line down here. Super easy, takes absolutely nothing, and you get a really lovely effect, like the bees are whizzing around and so on. Now, adding flowers is similarly easy, as I've done here. So again, I used some green curls here, so you can see it's quite structured. Then just a little bit of a mix here, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. A bee there, and then I made a beehive as well. So you can have a whole bee themed jumper if you like, and it gives you the opportunity to actually cover parts where there are holes. So just looking if I can find any more holes, but I think I've actually managed to get them all. There's actually an empty husk of a larvae here, if you can see that. So this is where they've been. You can see they've eaten a little bit into there as well. But check your jumper over, even if the holes are in the weirdest place, especially with bees or flowers or anything little like that. You can get away having them in the weirdest places. So yeah, I think that it's all the holes are covered. Like I say, I'm always hopeful to find another one so I can add some more details to it. But let's just go back to the flowers. So with the flowers, you can mix your wools. Again, it really doesn't matter what you're using, whether it's tops or bats. Let's just, I've got a few wispy bits of a top here. I've got some, just want to match it to the other flowers as best as I can. There's a bit of purple, shortening the fibers, and then mixing it. So mixing wool basically means that you are overlaying the colors and you're teasing them apart so that you get a new color variation like this. It's quite a lot of wool I've mixed here, and nothing in nature is actually just a plain single color, so keep that in mind. It's okay to have it a little bit varied, and then you just I don't know, put one here maybe. Is there a hole there? No. Well, we're pretending there's a hole. Remember, don't felt through the jumper. So at the moment it's very tempting to literally go all the way through. Don't want to do that. put a little felting mat inside, get the wool felted down. Again, it doesn't really matter if you're making very sort of almost like fantasy flowers. You don't need to needle felt every single petal. Just get the wool down in a little scrunched up bundle. It will go quite strongly into the mat, so you do need to lift that off. And then all you need to do is add a little yellow center. It's a slightly different yellow, this, but doesn't matter. Or a different color center, doesn't have to be yellow. And as I don't have any curls, I'm just going to use a little bit of green to add the stalk back on. Twist it a little bit and felt it down so it looks a bit like the curls. So I'm scrunching it up a little bit. I mean, this is all you need to do. Is wool is just the most fantastic commodity to work with. And look, what did that take? Nothing. It took nothing. It didn't take any skill. It just literally just needed for me to needle felt a purple blotch with a little yellow blotch with a little bit of a scrunched up green, and the bee, you saw me do that, took nothing. So that is another way of really freestyling it straight onto the jumper where you don't have to think too much about it. And it can be in weird places because holes are always in weird places. They're never in the place where you want them to be. So use the wool to suit you, because our brains interpret what it wants to see. So yeah, I absolutely love that about wool. Right, just gonna have a little check-in if there's any questions that I can answer. More people have joined. I have a drawer full of boring pashimas and a huge stuff of fluff, says Anne. Well, I know what you will be doing. And I mean, to be honest, this can be easily turned into a cheap present. If there's anything that you can find, and it can be so personalized. Imagine you make that. Let's talk about socks. Have some woolly socks or any kind of socks and needle felt the bees onto it. If you have a bee loving friend, or if there's anything else, we come to the more complicated designs. Oops, sorry, that was me kicking the camera. Oh, hang on a second, just need to move that over again. It's usually the dog that does that, but I've condemned her from the room, so I'm just going to move over a bit. Sorry, that was just stretching my legs out. Got there too. Oh, okay, get that in the middle now. There we are, that's better. If you have a friend who has a particular taste, I mean, we will get to all kinds of exciting designs, because you could be needle felting cats onto a jumper. You could be let's talk about Christmas, why not? There, what about making up a Christmas jumper? And I mean, to be honest, I haven't really used any particular design for this. Look, just a very, very simple, just a couple of antlers, some eyes, and a ball nose here, and suddenly you've got your Christmas jumper that's actually, for change, looks really quite stylish and nice. So yeah, there are lots of possibilities of what you can do. The other thing I will just want to show you is that if you want to make other flowers that are more recognizable, a really easy way of making flowers is poppies, because poppies or cherry blossom, let's have a look at this. They're so easily recognizable, that's why. Okay, there's cherry blossoms. You just need to mix a little bit of white with a blush of, just to get these blushed, oh, can't speak, these bits of pink in there. And poppies, of course, are literally just a red splosh with a bit of brown or black splosh. So I'll show you how to do these, especially with these where you actually needle felt 5 different petals. So get your white wool for the cherry blossom, apple blossom, whatever. Pop your felting mat inside, really important you do that. And then use your white wool and then just add a little bit of pink, just a tiny amount of pink into it. It can be quite a vibrant pink because we're toning it down quite a lot. So when you mix wool, it sometimes looks like really pale, too pale, but don't be deceived, because as soon as you felt it into a garment, or if you felt it down, it becomes a lot more condensed because the wool gets pushed together, so the color is actually a lot more concentrated than you think it is. Now, what I did with this, I did actually pre-shape the petals a little bit, mostly to find out how big they are. When you pre-shape them, you get sort of an idea how big the petals are when they are folded together. And then you just felt one down after another. Try and make them oval. There is sort of a rule in the flower world, if you don't know this, I'll tell you, that it's usually uneven numbers. So do 5 petals instead of 6 or 8 or 4. And just felt them down close together, but still having that separation. So get the edges to be nice and crisp. Just move this down a bit so I can actually reach better and you can see better. So I'm keeping the petal shape itself quite 3D, but I'm felting in between the space. Shape another one, a little bit more wool. There goes another one. Just trust the process, even if it doesn't look straight away like the flower that you are trying to make. Just trust the process. And then felt number 4 down, and then just needs to fit one more, which we'll squeeze in there. Flowers are just so easy. They're so easy to needle felt, unless you're making some really complicated flowers that require a lot of details. But I mean, cherry blossoms and poppies and daisies, they're just so easy to do. And I'm sure there are others that are really easy to do as well. So just felt these down. If anybody is near Nailsworth, I do have some spaces left on my flower wreath workshop. I'm running the mouse workshop tomorrow, and that's actually pretty full for the space that I have got. So can you see how this is now? It's really hard to show you, but they're sort of quite 3D, the petals on there. I'm gonna lift this off now because it's been felted on. There's all the wool has come out like a little furry surface, and then all you need to do is add a little bit of the brown in the center. And I've used literally, I don't think in total of what I've done tonight, I've not even used 1 whole gram of wool. And add a little bit of color inside. There you go, another one added. And it's super easy. It also works really well how I've done this here. Instead of, remember, less is more. Don't put great big branches there. Just keep it really almost sort of a little bit broken. Because it just makes it look a little bit more delicate. So to do this, I've just used a little bit of wool, tease it into a strand with my fingers, just by rolling it between my fingers. And then you can just felt it down. And as I go, I tease it, and I felt it down, and it sort of occasionally breaks, and I think that's okay. So it just gives it that delicate look. You don't want a great big branch next to these delicate flowers. So that's it. Yeah, really easy. Poppies. Let's do poppies. So easy. Add another poppy to this. You can put some stems on there as well. So remember to put your jumper so that you've got the mat in between. Need a bit of red. red wool. Now with poppies, I often really quite like adding a little bit of a pink or an orange into it, because it just gives it that impression of it having sort of waxy petals. Just gives a bit of a reflection, imitates a bit of reflection, just a tiny bit. And then, right, where did my mat go? There. Pop that on, felt it down. And yes, you can make them look more distinct and give them more detail, but it's not necessary. It genuinely isn't. And one of the other things that works really well when you needle felt the poppies down is to make sure that the center isn't in the center, at least not on your jumper, because it looks a little bit more like there's movement in the poppy if you put it to one side. There. Doesn't have to be in the center. It looks like the poppy is sort of slightly you're looking at it slightly from the side. And there's another poppy. I mean, how long did that take? Not long at all. And if you wanted to add some stalks to it, then just add them to it. Keep them very delicate and felt them down, and allow there to be movement in your picture that you're needle felting. And there you go. You can add another one here, here, and here, and it just ties it all together. So you've got a lovely collection of poppies there. Look how much this wool gets stuck in the mat. So mat, not mud, mat. And that is that. But I also want to show you something else, because I've done something else on this jumper, and I'm not a great fan of spiders, but I did have a hole here, and look, you can make a very delicate spider web, and then if you follow it through, you can have the spider hanging off there. And I actually used some boucle yarn here to make that spider. It wasn't even wool. So it's the loopy locks that we sell. Can you see? Look. There. It's already a strand of wool. So to use this, I can probably make a smaller spider out of it. You see, that is actually a strand of wool, and you can just needle felt. Oh, I hate spiders so much. There's currently living one under a cupboard next to the fridge in my kitchen, and every time I see it, I don't know what to do. I like freak out, and then when I'm trying to do something about it, it just goes straight under the cupboard, and I know it's there, and it knows that I don't want it to be there, but I can't get to it. So it's really annoying, and yeah, I just have to live with it as long as it stays there and doesn't come anywhere near me while I'm sleeping. Or crawls over my feet, or yeah, anyway. So just quickly do you a spider here. These are all really simple shapes, because they just yeah, our brain instantly see them as what they are, so you don't need to add any detail. I see if I can needle felt a sheep, because sheep are so easy to do as well. So I'm going to shorten these legs a little bit, and just felt them down. And then you can have the thinnest of white line coming down for oh, I hate spiders. I don't know why I'm doing a spider. It's my bravery today. So because it's quite a structural, the loopy locks is quite a structural yarn. It's actually really good to felt it down, because it looks already like a 3D shape. Why do they have to have 8 legs? It's so boring. Felting 8 legs. Another one. Do ask away if you've got any questions. I just check if there's anybody else asking anything. Let's have a look. Ina says she's got a denim jacket that needs a bit of umph. Oh, sorry, it's my my eyesight. Umph, a bit of umph. My brain's spinning with ideas. I know that's what I'm hoping you have. Ideas going through your brain, and then all these ideas, put them all together and make us a really lovely, amazing project that you can share with us. And when it gets closer to the end of the last week, I make sure that we have a space where you can enter your final make. But in the meantime, remember, Everyone a Maker is always a good place to just pop things, so that we can already look at them. But we will have a space where you can add your makes already. I'm obviously not very good at making spiders because I don't really look at them very close up, but mine actually would be fine with just 6 legs. But that's not a spider, is it? Oh, I have to squeeze another leg in there somewhere. Ugh, I hate the dumb things. Anyway, they have their uses, I know, and people always say to me, oh, the spider is so much more scared of you than you are of it. And I actually don't believe it. I genuinely don't believe it. How would you know how scared I am? Had one traveling with me in the van the other day, which was a truly awful experience. I'm just glad I didn't know it was there until I pulled into the car park, and as I stepped out of the van, it was on my leg, and it was a great big black spider, and it absolutely freaked me out. I think I would actually crash the van if I saw this whilst I was driving. So I had to check the van over and over and over before I could leave that night. And then I had with me, you're laughing now, but that's all I had. I had to have on the passenger seat, because I was on my own in the van, I had a cloth in case I needed to smother it, and I had a wooden plank in case I needed to bang it. So that was my defense for the journey. It wasn't in the van as far as I know. Certainly never made an appearance again. I think it fell out of the van as I stepped out, but I didn't know that. So it's too many legs, honestly. Why do they need so many legs? This one looks like he's got broken legs. Anyway, this is not a great spider, but I don't want to needle thread great spiders because I don't actually like them very much. But another really simple Halloween jumper. Why not make a Halloween jumper? Lots of spiders and spider webs, pumpkins and witches and whatnot. So I think I feel that this might be coming to a natural closure. So for next time, make sure you have some I was going to do some sheep actually. No, that's not sheep, that's actually the eyes of the reindeer. Let's see, put some sheep. I've got somewhere to put sheep. I could put them on the sleeve here. None of these jumpers can actually ever be worn because they have all kinds of things on all kinds of spaces. So sheep, very easy. Just pop. Probably a dark background isn't the easiest, but anyway, we'll do it anyway. So sheep, really easy. Just a little bit of white wool. You can use curls depending how big you make them. A little bit of white wool, like this. It's not good black, that color. Oh, you can't see. Okay, I'm going to use a different color. Just as well you couldn't see. Sorry, I thought I was on the overhead camera. So have I got a sleeve here? Oh yes, I have. Right. Right, I'm just going to go quickly to the overhead camera. It's completely improvising. If you want to make some sheep, put this here on the sleeve. Just a little bit of, well, that's pink, don't want pink. There, a little bit of white, felt it down, like this. And to be honest, if I was to make sheep on that sleeve, I would probably put a bit of green behind it, just tiny wisps, almost as a hint, not even coloring it in completely, just so that it looks a bit more natural where sheep actually graze. Like that. And then get that sort of oval sheep shape done. And then you can decide whether you have a sheep looking straight at you. If a sheep is looking straight at you, then shape your black face that you're making for the sheep, shape it into a triangular shape if you can. Rough triangular shape like that. And felt it down. So that's the top of the head. That's the ears here on the side. And then it's tucking in for the head. And it looks like the sheep's looking at you. And you can put some legs on it if you want. I mean, to be honest, you don't even need to put 4 legs on, because one could be sort of hidden behind the other. Just a couple of legs. There we go. Just don't overthink it. Just go for it. See what happens. Look away and then look at it again, because things happen in the meantime. So just some legs, and then if you want to, you can add a bit more green over the top, just so that it looks like it's standing in the grass rather than on top of the grass. And that's it. So really easy to make a sheep. You can cover the whole jumper with sheep, and again, you don't need a lot of detail because your brain interprets what you've just put on there. So I think it's time to call it a day. Last check-in. I'm a bit ahead of my time. Never mind holes. What about covering up stains that will not shift? Same thing. Just cover it up with wool. Good idea. Diane says, I think this is a great idea for presents, buying a not so expensive jumper and adding embellishments. Yes, and you can personalize it so you make it extra special. And there's only one of a kind. There isn't another one. Taylor says, can you still wash as normal if you felt on jumpers, etc.? Yes, wash it as normal, because the more you wash it, the more the wool gets tangled up and the more it gets established onto your garment. So washing is not a problem at all. In fact, it is actually really good. Julie says, great idea. Every time I have a curry, I could have a swarm of bees. Yes. Yeah, why not use the fleck of whatever is on your jumper and use it as a feature. Love it. Diane says, you need to start selling these jumpers, Steffi. I'm a size 16. You can do it yourself, Diane. You do it. You do it. Sherry says, oh, she's watching. Diane says, you could advertise in your shop about this, Steffi. Well, I do want to do an embellishing course here in the shop as well. More sort of maybe on the lines of mending, because you can just do it for fun and zhuzh up your garments, but there is a practical reason if you do want to mend a hole or cover up stains. You can do that too, of course. Izzy says, do you have any tips for getting rid of all the little holes you get when needle felting? Do you just have to keep stabbing until they go away? Well, sometimes when these holes appear, they kind of disappear when there's movement in it, so they kind of close up by themselves. So maybe you can just rub over it or just knead it a little bit, and they tend to disappear. But in general, you get smaller holes if you go on a smaller needle, so you could try that too. Izzy says, that's a great Christmas jumper. Thank you. My brain is now working overtime, says Tanya. Excellent. Love the cherry blossom. Thank you, Diane. Diane also says, my craft room is now finished and I've got so many ideas for jumpers and jeans. Thank you, Steffi. And this is just the beginning. We haven't even gone all the way through the course yet. So make sure you watch next week at 7 o'clock again on Friday. Now, the part 4, I've double booked myself. I have this amazing talent to get the dates wrong. It's actually a very special talent of mine. Not so special, but thanks to all of you lovely customers. Oh, I've kicked that camera again, sorry. I have to put, there, kicked it the right way. Thanks to all of you amazing customers, you always point it out to me, and then I get really annoyed with myself. But the 4th part is is coinciding with the flock gathering. So I'm going to have to move the fourth part. I'll probably do it before the flock gathering. So it'll be an earlier time, same date, but an earlier time. It'll be a mega live stream for me that day. That's what I'm planning on doing. But we cross that bridge when we get to it, and I'll let you know with plenty of time. Diane says, I do wish I lived nearer, Steffi. Well, you can move, Diane. Just move close. So Rose is watching. Dawn says, I'm sorry I'm late. Had to take a trip to Cambridge to pick up our pooch. It's been a bad few days. How is your little dog? Please do tell us, Dawn, while I'm still here. I do want to know. I meant to comment on it, but I've had so much stuff going on that I completely missed it. Please do tell us, is your little doggy okay? Ines says, me too, living closer, I'm guessing. Dawn says, oh no. Tanya says, I do too, Diane. You can all move to Nelsworth. How about this? There's, plenty of space for everybody. Your husband wouldn't be as keen. Okay, it's because you are in Essex, right? That is quite, yes, you could meet up locally. You could run flock parties. How about this? Diane says, giving me nightmares, Steffi. Oh, is this a spider? I would not buy that jumper. No, I know. Giving me idea for one of my work t-shirt, a spider on the sleeve. Okay, don't wear it when I see you. Annie says, no questions, but after a long break from needle felting, you are making me want to pick up the needles. Very inspirational. Ah, thank you. That's the idea. Yeah, sometimes we need a break from 3D shaping, and sometimes we just need to stop garments and put new life into them. Diane says, I would have definitely crashed my car, especially if I landed on my leg. Yes, I was so glad I only spotted it when I actually stepped out of the van, and then I didn't think about anything else. So Taylor says, thank you, Steffi. Sharon says, have really enjoyed this. Thank you so much, Steffi. Have a lovely weekend, everyone. Thank you for this, says Tanya. Johanna has just managed to join. Well, I will upload this onto the YouTube channel so you can rewatch it, but it says here on the page as well. But Facebook are deleting live streams after a short period now, so they don't stay there forever. And Ines says, great ideas. Thank you so much, Steffi. I haven't found out about Dawn's dog, but I will message them privately. So thank you so much, everybody. Stay tuned for next Friday, where we have part 2. Rummage around in your wardrobe, find some jumpers, find some jeans, find some scarves, some hats, some gloves, some socks, whatever you've got there stashed away, some trousers, and get some biscuit cutters ready. We will explore what you can do with those, and that's for part 2. So take care, everybody. Lots of love, and yeah, have a lovely weekend. Bye bye.